Hello, friends. Welcome to Artifact. I'm having weird technical things, so I have no idea if anything's working. But that should not come as a surprise to any who joined me before. When last we left our magical tome, it had acquired a new name, Lurloed, given to it by a strange paladin, adventurer type, who used its power to escape a lich's dungeon and devoted its life to worshipping the book as a god. The paladin was not the best of alchemists, and although he was able to find a few new recipes to add to our book of potions of elemental power, he blew himself up trying to make potions that harnessed the power of air. And that's where we left our friend, the book. Amidst the rubble of Baratram's hovel, waiting for someone worthy to come along and find it again. I got that ghost pill bug right up here. Refuses to go anywhere. I've readjusted the lights multiple times, and that's just going to be there. It's very white, and I don't know why. It's an endless experiment here in ye old artifact chambers. I think the book needs to be a little bit more dinged up. It's seen some stuff. Also, I need to pull out a D4 because we need to find out who our new keeper is. What kind of friend are we going to make today? I believe that last time you said it was about a year. And we have definitely moved into the time of ruination. We were there last time, I believe, or this is when we moved into the time of ruination. How many keepers have we had? This is session 5. Yeah, we have 4 keepers, so this is 5. So we have moved on to the ruination. And so we must choose a keeper. Let's look. We've got 3. A doomsday cult. I could not have asked for better. All right. This should be fun. Just get rid of the whiteboard for ease of writing. So, we know that the tome was buried in the rubble. Of Paladin Baratram's home. And, of course, Baratram was well known as a paladin before he retired to sort of pursue his alchemical pursuits. And allergies are so fun. And as such, Baratram made a lot of enemies. And one of those enemies, one of the recurring folks that he would beat up on, would be the Doomsday cults. And we're going to say that it is a cult. Who do they follow? I think they, you know what? They heard that Baratram was pursuing elemental air magic. And so this is a cult of an evil air genasi. This air genasi goes by many names, and we shall say that the name that the cult worships is Whimdy, because that's the kind of mood I'm in. We're not going to go epic. We're going to go stupid. Great. Whimdy. So be it. We never said that the Doomsday Cult had to be smart. Whimdy. So yes, they're searching through the rubble, the ruins, looking for any instances of powerful items that Bertram may have left behind in his research into the elemental magics. So they find Lurloed in the rubble. There are scores of acolytes with burning eyes and fierce purpose. Scores of acolytes. Whimdines. Going through the rubble to find anything of value, but primarily anything elemental that they can gift to their god head, their cult leader, Whimdy. Gifts for Whimdy. And they find Lurloed. They pick it up, they dust it off, and it will not speak to anyone at the Whimdine level. At this point in its long existence, Lurloed, the magic tome, has become very discerning in terms of whom it will allow to read it. And it has in the past prevented some who were not deemed worthy from even understanding the words on its pages. And so this is no different. This is an occasion where just a few people digging through the rubble is not enough to impress Lurloed. So it does the book equivalent of Take Me to Your Leader and the Doomsday Cult rescue Lurloed and carry it away from here, away from the rubble, to a next life. Describe their leader and the cataclysm they wish to trigger. Well, their leader, Wimdy, leader of the Wimdines. It's just going to make me giggle every single time. Wimdy, an Air Genasi, not initially evil in their life. Definitely more the victim of being preyed upon for their genie type powers, and so becomes evil as more of a means to an end, more desiring some sort of justice, and so it's one of those evils that is only evil in as much as they believe the right things but want to go down the wrong route to achieve them. Has been done wrong, done dirty, wants revenge. Cult's purpose is to bring about the end of the world, essentially, to find magical methods through magic to create an earthless realm. Here in the world in which they inhabit, and to turn this plane into a plane of air magic. And so, of course, it's very interesting to Wimdy that this tome was found in the rubble of someone who had created such powerful air magic that it blew up his house. What, of course, they don't know is that because Bartram died in that experiment, none of those recipes are in the tome. Which of your former keepers are they keen to study? Well, obviously Bartram. That is the only one. He's actually the only one that has put his name anywhere in the book, because he was full of himself enough towards the end that he did start signing his recipes. So most of the recipes in the book are like potion of healing, or sleep bomb, or intelligence potion. But then you find things like Bartram's mighty fire ward potion, and Bartram's potion of ice resistance, things like that. So Bartram started naming his things, and so his is the first of the keepers who can be traced back through this book. But of course, it doesn't help. Doesn't hurt that everyone knew which house was his. So, Wimdy and the Wimdines, that is a great band from the 80s, Wimdy and the Wimdines, are looking for air magics. And so they start researching, and at first they're very frustrated by the fact that there aren't any air elemental spells in the tome. But the tome sees the passion that Wimdy possesses for learning new things. And the tome at this point primarily exists to gain more knowledge in its pages. And so it does see Wimdy as someone who can do that. They can probably find answers that the tome does not possess, and the tome desires as much knowledge of this sort as it is possible to gain. So long as it has empty pages, it wants to fill them. So it does open itself up to Wimdy, and also in Wimdy sees a kindred spirit. The tome has been so mistreated over its life by humans that a non-human elemental energy is something that it can kind of be simpatico with on a pretty quick scale. So, what else are we doing here? Answer the keeper's questions. Did that. Choose from one from tables 29 or 30. So, victories and valor or neglect and mischief. So now we get to decide kind of is this going to go well for them or not? Let's get dice involved. And maybe a coin even. I don't even know if it's going to be good or bad. So let's get Mr. Lincoln to weigh in on the subject. So victories and valor will be heads. Neglect and mischief will be tails. Actually, you know what? This is one of those pennies that has a shield on it, so reverse that. Okay, victories and valor. Choose an option from below, answer questions, and change something as you grow notorious, proud, or legendary. Change a trait, a detail about the physical appearance, respond to an artifact question, or change a detail about something in your world, a name, a faction, etc. So let's roll a die. There's 6 options, so we'll roll a d6. Unless anyone out there wants to weigh in. Choose now. Okay. 6. Your keeper uncovered an insidious conspiracy in their people's ruling class. With your help, they exposed the devious scheme. Fascinating. Okay, this is going to take a little bit to unpack. This may be a longer episode than usual, because that doesn't make sense for Wimdy. What it does make sense is for Wimdy's second hand, a Wimdine named Penelope Baggett. Penelope Baggett, second hand, known to the Wimdines as my heir second. This is like automatic writing at this point. No. Yeah, it's fine. My heir second hand. My heir. My heir. My heir. That's a yeah. We'll say Meyer. Real name Penelope Baggett. In the Wimdines, known as Meyer. Meyer discovers that what Wimdy has been promising is that their cult will all ascend into the airplane that is created and they will all rule together. But in reality, Wimdy knows that their cult will all die in the cataclysm. So Windy does manage to use the various recipes for elemental potions that Bartram imparted in the tome, and is able to complete the tome in terms of the elemental end of things, adding all of the air magic that the tome was missing. So adds air magic to the tome. And once that happens, the tome, fully conscious at this point in its long, long life, understands that if Wimdy manages to destroy this plane of existence, the tome won't have anyone to be its meat legs to walk it around and fill it with more spells. So the tome, as soon as it gets as much magic out of Wimdy as it can, understands, like, okay, I'm done with you, and whispers to Penelope Baggett and is able to write a page in itself explaining everything that Wimdy is planning. And so Penelope, using her position as Meyer, has the same loyalty from the cult members as Wimdy at this point, because Wimdy has been, as is so often the case, the tome demands full attention from its keeper. And so Wimdy has been more and more separated from the cult, and Meyer has been doing more and more of the actual cult business. And so Meyer is able to go to the cult and expose to them that Wimdy has lied to them. And of course, the price for speaking truth to power in this case would be death. I'm going to look at the artifact questions right now and see if any of these can get Meyer out of their predicament. You've concocted an intricate plan inspired by your contents. What compulsion do you encourage in the keepers to accomplish it, knowing it may take eons? The intricate plan is protect the world. Weirdly, the tome has been more and more selfish over its long life. And in this moment, recognizing how fragile the world is and how Wimdy could destroy it, the tome, for own self-preservation purposes, in order to achieve the greatest power selfishly, has an intricate plan to keep the world safe. Because without the world, the tome is nothing. And so, what happens here is that Wimdy confronts Meyer. who has the tome. And they have a magic battle. The two of them fight, and Wimdy is way more powerful than our Penelope Baggett, but Penelope has the tome on her side, and the tome has a desire to keep Penelope safe long enough to defeat Wimdy, because the tome can't have Wimdy existing in the world anymore. Wimdy knows too much. They know too many of the tome's secrets and could use them to destroy the world, and the tome wants to keep the world safe. So, consider how the Keeper loses you. I think it's in the battle. I think that the battle is mighty and epic. And in order to protect the world, Penelope Baggett, known as my heir, understands that the only way to protect the world is to use the power of the tome channeled through her to plane shift Wimdy back to their home plane of air. Why he wouldn't want to go there, we don't know. Maybe he was actually cast out from there. Maybe he has people looking for him. Who knows? Or maybe he just wanted power over a different realm. Hard to say, but Penelope banishes Wimdy to plane of air. And in that banishment, unfortunately, gets lost herself. The spell that she's sort of making up with the help of the tome is wild magic of sorts. And it goes awry, and Penelope is banished to some other plane. Maybe the same as Wimdy, maybe their battle rages on, or maybe someplace else. And their battle that has risen into the sky and into the clouds leaves the tome to fall back to the earth. Time, the ruination. To a mountain peak. I think and here's where I have to decide how much time is going to pass. think it's a century. I think a whole century passes before the tome is found. I think I'm going to pick, for the first time, on one of these two pages of Shifts and Currents or Dust and Rust. So the Shifts and Currents changes the world around the object. Or Dust and Rust changes traits or physical items. And I think being on a mountaintop, it's going to be Dust and Rust. So a century, I will rest for 2 minutes, and then we'll work on Dust and Rust together. But first, we'll return to the wonderful Artifact soundtrack by Christopher Michael Roberts. The yawning silence is deafening, and you struggle to keep your mind calm and clear for such extended isolation. Can you stay composed, or does something snap? I think something snaps. Isolation for a century. Feeling loose, empty pages towards my back. I've felt ways of filling pages on my own, but I need someone to talk to through them. I can't just do it on my own. There need to be eyes. Need to be eyes on me to make new pages. Traits. planar. Learning how to bridge the various planes of reality is now part of Lurloed. And as it sits atop the mountain for 100 years, as the frost eats away at the fine cloth binding it, it begins to find a way of calling out, looking for eyes to see it. Its voice gets louder and louder over the 100 years until finally someone hears it and ascends the mountain looking for the source of the call. And that's where we'll pick up next week for what I believe will be the final installment of The Tale of Lurloed. Thank you for joining me. I think we're going to try rating, because I think KatieBot is, if you enjoyed this delve into the cult, I believe KatieBot's going to be probably streaming cult Sims over on their channel. If I can find the thing that tells me how to do the thing. That's the wrong stream manager. There we go. A channel. Nope. They finished, apparently. Maybe. Nope. Yeah. Well, next time. Here, I'll just I'll just sign off. Yeah, I'll just sign off. Good night, everybody.